start off, guys, I'm sure as you guys saw, we had a pretty eventful day yesterday. Bitcoin rose nearly $5,000 in like 15 minutes, which was, it was one of the biggest volatilities we've seen in nearly 3 months. So it was good to see that things are starting to pick back up. So to start off, we're going to look at the total crypto market cap right here. This is basically the entire crypto market cap, all 10,000 coins. We're currently sitting at about 1.45 trillion. And I just want to show you guys, to start off, our last live stream we were highlighting a few different patterns that were going on here. We kind of had a descending triangle a little bit. We had kind of a falling wedge pattern on Bitcoin, falling wedge pattern on the total crypto market cap. We could even say it was a regression trend down. There's multiple different things that they kind of formed, but everything that you could draw now has been completely broken. So we should say that we are now in a short-term uptrend, mid-term uptrend. This was all considered a downtrend ever since this moment right here. We started our downtrend actually right here, right when the top was hit. This was all downtrend. Here we could say for the first time that we have been in an uptrend the last 3 days. So it is great to see. It was a very slow time over the past nearly 71 days. It was pretty boring compared to kind of what happened before. As we can see, we had immense growth following nearly 420 days of uptrending ever since the March 20 low was put in. And as we can see, we're now back in some type of uptrend. We don't know how long it's going to last yet, but I'm going to go over a few indicators here that kind of give us a little reference of how important this is. To start off, we'll look at the relative strength index right here. It kind of looks a little bit better on Bitcoin, but as we can see, it's not the perfect trend lines here, so I'm not even going to bother with one of those. I'm just going to draw a few ellipses here, put on our magnet. As we can see, our highest strength recorded was back there right in January. January 9th was our highest strength recorded. And basically every month after, we kind of were creating lower strength levels. And for the first time, we have finally created a higher strength level. This right here has broken this downtrend of strength, which this just basically shows how much strength does the overall cryptocurrency market cap have. And as we can see, we were kind of downtrending ever since January, so about 6 months of downtrending. The price didn't react until, as we can see, the price didn't react till up here, but each of these pushes had less strength, which was kind of predicting that this pullback was going to occur. So this right here is a great sign that shows that strength is fully out of that. We have the highest strength we've seen in actually nearly since May, so about 3 months. And we went straight up off of our bottom, which was great to see. So that is the first thing I want to look at. Second thing is our MACD still has yet to turn bullish. We still are in bearish territory, and if you guys are wondering, anything over the zero line right here, as we can see that zero, this is bullish territory, this is bearish territory. So we've been in bearish territory since the beginning of May as well. The blue moving average almost has peaked into bullish territory, but we're not quite there yet. So when we do see this full breakout, that is kind of one of our last confirmations we need. But this right here is our historical volatility, and as we can see, we did just pump up on volatility, so this is good to see. We had the highest volatility obviously back in May, kind of when we topped out right here. It was actually right here. This was just it's a lagging indicator, so this big dump here was kind of the biggest volatility we had in a long time. So it was a lagging, and we started pumping out right here. So this is good to see here that the volatility is picking back up, because it was very slow here. The last thing I'm gonna look at on here is the funding index. This is just negative funding, which is a sign that I believe that shorts are paying longs. It might be vice versa. I'd have to double check. I always get them mixed up. But basically what this is a bullish thing, because if we look back kind of when tops were occurring, it was a positive funding. So as we can see here, it's been very negative. We've even yet to push positive. So this is something really good to see kind of overall. Too bad we have this huge wick here. It kind of skews the data. But if we saw right here, this was all negative funding right when the big drop happened back in March of last year, and that kind of set us up for our whole run. So that is the first thing I want to show you guys right here. I'm going to get rid of these because we are completely out of those. One other thing, this isn't the best way to look at it, but I'll show you guys on other things. If you guys are familiar with Elliott wave, it basically is just a 5-wave pattern. People like to use it on the upside, kind of like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should be a lot cleaner than that. It should basically be something like this. This is kind of how you'll see it in the textbook, but you still can look for the 5 waves. And we basically had the full 5 waves here. So now at this point, what I'd be looking for would be something like this on the ABC. Because after we have a 5 wave, we look for something on an ABC. So this could be our first wave right here. That could have been it, or it could extend a little bit higher. It's too hard to say right now. But then we'll have a B wave down, and then we'll have another C wave up. It might be up to there. It might even be up to here. You can't really predict how long, but that's kind of the next waves we'd be looking for. If this was the end of our impulse, we're gonna have a slow little downtrend, not too steep, not sweeping below here or anywhere close to here. Just kind of another reset for us to go higher. So there's something very interesting to keep an eye on, is those next 2 waves that we are suspecting. And I want to show you guys here the important zones that we completely bounced off of. This right here was kind of our accumulation zone. Let me get this out of here, but this was our accumulation zone, and I believe it was because this was the retest. So basically this right here was the previous high, and when we broke that, we had to retest that. So now we come back in our first correction, we basically retest the top of the retest. So this was our first retest right here, which allowed us to go even higher. So now we just retested this, which as we can see, we never did. This was a retest, but it didn't come back down to these levels. So we needed to retest those levels, and it is a good sign because that is exactly where we bounced. So now we're looking for a break, more specifically of this zone right here, which we have failed to. We were above it a little bit earlier today, but we did come right back down. And there is one more important zone. I'd put it right about there. Those are kind of our 2 important zones to be looking out for. It's about 1.5 to 1.6 trillion and about 1.68 to 1.75 trillion. Those are our 2 very important zones that we want to see a full break of, and at that point we should see prices to really start having a hefty, nice, healthy uptrend. We could say we already had this, but this technically wasn't the healthiest. If we go down to small time frames, it really was just straight up. We're looking for a nice uptrend, which should be occurring once we break over our next zone. Nice, healthy uptrend here. Once we break over this, then we're kind of in the clear to these big volatility moves right here. And these are a lot of liquidity voids, which should have pricing moving fast as long as the whole market comes along with it. So that's kind of what I'll look for on the total crypto market cap. I just like to look over those because it's kind of a good overview, kind of everything that's going on. So the next up, we'll take a look at Bitcoin. I don't know exactly what I have drawn on here, but we'll just take a look at it right here. So as we can see, to start off, I was showing you guys this multiple times, this kind of descending channel, which we also had a falling wedge, which I'll show you here in a second. But this descending channel had a very, very nicely respected trend line right here. As we can see, this was very respected. This was a complete false breakout of it, but as we can see, we continued to respect it very well. And right when we broke over this, which this was this box right here, and I believe there was another MA. Yep, it was that MA. Let's double check. The 200 MA on the 5-hour. Once we broke over these 2 marks right here, we retested them, and we retested this resistance here at about 33.8, and then prices just went crazy. This is kind of the result. If people are wondering, some people are saying this is because of the Amazon news. I beg to differ. I think this is just what happens after you consolidate for 2 months, because I saw these things back then. It's just kind of how it is. After a large consolidation, prices want to move. There's low liquidity. There's not many people trading, low volume, and that allows prices to move very, very fast. So that's kind of why we saw what we saw yesterday. I'll just kind of going back on to recap kind of how we got to this point. Then I'll show you guys a little bit more of kind of what's going on in the present. But one more thing I do want to show is, I believe I showed you guys this last live stream. But this is important to note that this was a falling wedge pattern here. And these things are very, very accurate. As we can see right here, it was a perfect falling wedge, nearly perfect. We had the false breakout right there. But once we cleared out of this, prices were gone. And that's kind of how we got to where we were. And I'll show you guys another important one. This was kind of the lowest falling wedge we had in Bitcoin in the last 4 years. This was very, very nice falling wedge right here. And as we can see, right when we broke out of it, bam, we started our entire uptrend. So that is just something to keep in mind, that this is great to see that we're completely out of all these patterns, out of all of the downtrends, everything. And if we see here, I'll go on a little bit of a higher time frame so we could kind of go over some cleaner things here. But Bitcoin fully broke over its whole downtrend line, which I showed you guys kind of how they kept getting lower ever since January. This just has a cleaner trend line, just to show you guys. And yes, we can use trend lines on the RSI. Right when we broke over it, if we go back to where it was, say it was about, well, this is the day chart, but look right when we broke over this right here. Kind of hanging out above, right when we broke over, right there, we also broke our downtrend line, and strength just shot. And that was mostly because we cleared this 50 value right here. Remember telling you guys about that. The 50 value is very important. Anything below it's bearish, anything above it's bullish. So we kind of broke right over that, and bam, prices just flew at that point. So one thing I do want to go over real quick on a different chart, I believe I had it drawn. Yeah, this right here. So even though everything is looking great, I do want to tell you guys we still are in this range. And I know just because it was such a large move, we still are technically in this range. Even though downtrends are broken, we have so many signs that the trend has changed. We still kind of need this last one to say, okay, there's not one reason why we're in a bear trend anymore. So this is something I just want you guys to realize, is that as we can see, this was kind of our liquidity grab right here. Each time we went in this box right here, we bounced right out of it, and same concept right here. And this has kind of been being respected for nearly 67 days. So we do need to clear and break over this box right here. It's about 40,300, about 41.3. It's about $1,000 box, but that is our kind of our last thing we need to see. And then we're gonna see some big moves out of this, because we do have a large liquidity void right here. So this right here is such a liquidity void, it's not even funny. I suspect prices to look exactly like this once we fully clear out of it. Let's see here. I'm not going to say it's going to happen right there, but I think that prices will look just like that once we fully clear out of that. Say that we consolidate here for more, then we start coming up. Let's get rid of that. That is exactly what it's going to look like. Is if once we break this box right here, it's going to be a moonshot right to 45,000, and I'll stand by that. That's going to be a big price movement for the whole market. Even though we saw this right here, this is going to be even bigger, because this is such a big liquidity void right here, because we only had wicks in this area. No candle closes were in this area at all. If I maybe adjust that just like that, as we can see, we really only had wicks. We had this huge candle, basically a huge candle there. And that just shows that we're going to see something straight up. So this really is something to draw on your guys' charts and to keep in mind. This box right here is our last kind of sign we need. Then once we get up here, it's going to look great, even though it already is looking very, very good. One thing I do want to show you guys, though, is that this right here, I'm sure you guys remember, if you guys were around the past few months, how important this 0.706 Fibonacci is. Same place we got rejected here. I warned everyone this looks exactly like 2017, and then we dropped nearly 50% after. So that is something to keep in mind, is that this is going to be the big area. This right here. This is going to be where the bulls make it or break it, and kind of where Bitcoin either continues its bull trend or gets rejected hard and starts coming down. That's from between 51,000 and 54,000. So I suspect if we get above this, we're gonna have a punch right to here, probably consolidation, then another punch right to there. It's gonna look good. It's gonna look similar to this. Kind of if we just invert the scale right here, see how we just pumped right over? I expect us, once we get out, to dump right back into this zone right here. So that kind of is what I'm seeing on Bitcoin. In the short term, even though we only do these each week, I will go over kind of a short term right now with you guys. Just to show you guys kind of what we're seeing, and also too with this 5-wave pattern, which I'll go over when we get to the alts. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have had our 5 waves. This, in my opinion, is our A wave right now. So we're looking for, this was a sharp A wave, is the Amazon news. Probably look for a retest right there, and then maybe come back down to something like that. We got to go back to get some of these supports right here. I'd suspect it'd probably be, yeah, probably about 36.2, 36.4. Even though we almost touched that there, that would be something I'd be looking for. Then at this point, if we get this clear wave right here structure, which lands us in about a day or two, then I suspect us to make it or break it, meaning that we're gonna either pump back over this mark right here, the 37.3, 38.2. It's very, very important, and then we'll continue to try to test this zone right here. If not, then we will be retesting some lower supports here. But one good sign is that no uptrends are broken yet. We still have plenty of marks, and as we can see, look at where that lands us. I didn't even draw this before. That lands us right on our downtrend, right on our uptrend. My bad. And that would be a very good sign. It'd be very healthy as well for us just to get something like this. We kind of need a breather after this price action. If I go down on a 3-minute, I'll show you guys. Look at how sharp this was right here. We haven't seen something like this in a very, very long time. We moved nearly 14% in less than an hour. I could even make it shorter to make it a little bit more steeper here. If we go straight from here to here, it's about 18 minutes. We moved $4,000, 11% in 18 minutes. We haven't seen something like that in a very, very long time. So the market is awakened, but I showed you guys the important zone. Let me get this Fibonacci out of here. It still is anywhere from 40,400 to about 41.3. So let's just keep that all in mind. And that is kind of our last mark, even though we have really worked our way back up to where we need to be. So I hope you guys all understand that. As we can see, our 2 MAs right here, 5,100. Right when it broke, we went right back to the, I believe this might be the 4. This is the 500 MA. So as we can see, that is where we got rejected right there, the 500 MA. This is on a 5-hour. You can mess around with all these. But it is very, very important to see. And this is the daily chart, the 100 daily. That's exactly where we stopped right here. And these MAs work. If you guys saw on the crypto charts, I showed you guys that right when Bitcoin broke over the 400 MA, the first time in 75 days, like an hour later, it just completely took off. So these MAs work. Some people use EMAs, absolutely fine. I do just like the traditional MAs personally. They work very well for what I do. So that is something to keep in mind. But as we can see, this kind of tested us right in this zone right here. So I hope you guys all enjoyed that, and send over any questions in the chat. I might be moving fast, but just know that we do have a recording of this coming out. So don't worry if you are kind of getting a little confused or missing some things, but I will stop if I do see some questions pop up. So I'm going to clean up. I actually might have a cleaner chart here. Let me see here. Okay, yeah, that we could look at this one right here. So about 2 days ago, I showed you guys that this was the zone for us to break. Right when we broke it, we retested it. Bam, we got punched right to the 100, the 200 8-hour MA. Let's go on the day chart just for a little better reference. This was met with our 200, our 100, I believe. Oh, our 50-day MA is kind of where we rejected. As we can see, we are completely below it already. So that is not the best sign, but it is still good to see that we really did test all the way out of that. And the most important thing about all this is that the altcoins are completely out of their falling wedge pattern, very similar to Bitcoin. All downtrends are broken. We should technically say we are in an uptrend. The RSI did the same thing as all of them. This wasn't as clean. It was kind of more of a rounded top off, but still, this is the first higher high we've had. As we can see, highest, a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower. First time we broke that. So that is great to see. And just if you guys are looking for some important zones, it really is this right here. This is between 830 billion and 864 billion. That is the very important resistance for us to fully break, and then at that point I suspect a minimum push right here to this, and this is kind of a liquidity zone. The reason why I say, and the reason if you guys are wondering, is because look what happens each time we get out of this. So each time we break out of this, we've went straight to that. Each time we broke out of this, we've went straight to that. Each time we broke out of this, we went straight to that. Each time we broke out of this one, straight to that. Bam, straight back. Broke out of this, went straight to that. Got rejected here, went straight to that. Broke out of this support, we went straight to that. Got rejected here, went straight to that. this is technically the only time it didn't work, but this is so many times it worked that I suspect the same thing. Once we break over this, it's bam, straight to that. And then that is kind of our last big resistance up until our all-time high. So that is very important to keep an eye on yourself if you do have your own charts. And one other thing I'll look at here is our retracement zones. So this is kind of the same thing on Bitcoin. This is going to be our important mark for alts. If we do see these pushes up and then we can't get above this, start coming down hard, it's not going to look good. And I will say we're going to have a big short at that point. But I suspect us to reach this over the next month or two for us to get back to 1.14 and 1.22 on the altcoin market cap. So that will be very, very good to see. And then I'm going to look at Ethereum here, and then I'll let Simon, if you have anything to add in, Simon, go ahead. But
I think you did a really good job with that. So big shout out to Dom for the insights there, guys. Overall, I think I'm gonna touch on mostly the macro environment and all the news flood, whether you want to call it, regarding alongside the Bitcoin narrative. So right now, this weekend, we saw initially open interest stay spike up. We saw lots of volume come in, and then at one point we did see a short squeeze as well on Saturday and Sunday. Now, a lot of people were anticipating that this happened because of the Amazon news, but if you guys have attended previous sessions, you should be aware that Don has pointed out that 9 times out of 10 when we do see news catalysts like that play out, it's also time for it to align with the chart. So technically, as Don has shown you, this was a right breakout waiting to happen for weeks and months, and we've been anticipating this, calling it out. If any of you were lucky enough to catch it in the chat, I did $8,000 within 18 minutes. Bitcoin was up after I signaled it. So I know a lot of people made great money off that. If you were able to catch that, congratulations. We're definitely going to have lots of call-outs moving henceforth, especially as the markets pick up more activity and we see more flows of money come in on a larger scale. With that being said, I do expect some sort of retracement to the downside on Bitcoin, potentially closing the 32.5K CME gap that was formed over the weekend while the futures market was closed, the ICME futures specifically. So once we fill that gap, I would feel almost certain in buying up Bitcoin, not necessarily buying it up, but stocking up on all the coins that I'm more so bullish on medium term as well as long terms to ride the up and coming potential bull wave. However, keep in mind, if we do take positions at that point in time, we will manage our risk accordingly because we will initiate stop losses within 28K Bitcoin in case of another fake out event, or considering that this was a big fake out to the upside to once again push euphoria into the markets before taking us to new lows for the year. This is very well possible and something that would not be out of the realm of possibilities. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind. Beyond that, I'm personally looking for some sort of retracement, consolidation after such crazy movements over the last 2 days. It is Bitcoin, anything can happen, but from a technical and fundamental standpoint, the network and overall exchanges volume need to calm down and just relax before the market makes its next move. So with that being said, I would be keeping an eye on alts. Right now, I'm currently all cash, other than my XRP position, as I mentioned previously, not taking any leverage future positions either, just as of right now. As always, if I see something on the charts, I'll be the first one to call it out in the chat and post an alert. So really, thank you so much, guys, for taking the time to join us today. With that, I'm going to open up the floor to any questions, and let's go from there. Dom, anything else you'd like to add?
No, that was good, Simon. I did see Hunter want me to do Ethereum real quick, so I'll take a look at Ethereum. But as you said, me and you, we both were telling everybody that we suspect a big move. Last live stream within a week to two, and we have started that big move. especially on Bitcoin. So, just like you said, the charts often align with the news. That's just kind of how it is. I don't know exactly how, but that's just kind of how it is. So just to clear that up, that is kind of what has happened over the past, week or two. But yeah, you guys can send in some questions if you have them, but I'll go over Ethereum here real quick. So to start off, this is the 1-day chart, and actually the time of this video, we are back in our descending channel. So it's not the best sign to see, but it is good that we kind of got out of it heavy. Let me get these MAs out of here. I don't even know which ones those are. But this is very important. The fact that this trend line right here still is not regained. So this trend line right here, I told you guys back here we need to get above it. We failed to. Back here, we kind of retested it. We could adjust it a little bit back both ways. We kind of just retested that, and we still aren't there. Right now, it's about 2,600 we need to fully break over. So that is important to keep in mind, is that we're still not back into our uptrend yet. This is our uptrend line. Once we regain this, it's going to look great. But one thing to keep in mind as well is that this was a clear double bottom, W formation. That brought us right back to the neckline, and I'll get that a little bit clearer here, and that's exactly where we rejected. And that is exactly how these W formations work. It brings us right back to this neckline right here. That's exactly what happened. And like Simon said, after such a big move, crypto is crypto, but I don't suspect us just to keep running up straight here. I suspect some consolidation to happen. It could be a few days. It could even be a few weeks. We might sweep back down here. Would be completely normal. Nothing would be broken. But just keep that in mind, that just because things are good and exciting and euphoric now, we can't forget that we were at 29K like a week ago. So that is just something to keep in mind. But on Ethereum here, it really is the important resistance of 2360. So let me go to a cleaner chart so we could just start from scratch here. I'll just clear all of that out, and as we can see, we had the double bottom, was very, very clear, and we also had that descending channel I showed you guys about here, which we are completely out of. So that is great to see. We are completely out of this. Let's make this a little bit cleaner here. This is a descending channel, but a descending triangle, but we did break above. Most of the times it actually does break down, but in this case we did break up. So that is great to see. But right now, a really, really important resistance here for us to say that this isn't just a retest is this mark right here. So as we can see, it was decently important right here, but on our first wave down, it was very important because that's where we continued to hold support. We broke below over here, but look, we continued to hold that support right there. And then once it broke, retested, that's kind of when we got stuck under it, as we can see. So we do need to get that full break over 2300 to 2380. You could say 2400 to 2300 to 2400. But that would be one of the last things that I would say. Kind of like on all the other things I said, we still just kind of need one more thing on most of these coins. But the downtrend on the RSI is finally broken. High here, high here, high here. We actually were creating higher highs ever since June 2nd. So that is kind of different than some of the coins, but as we can see, we really had that higher high and we didn't get rejected at 50. So what I would like to see is basically a retest, and then for us to hold, and then we get our next big wave. Because remember, the big moves don't happen until we get up to here. This is when the real big moves happen. Even up here, as we can see, you see how much was going on up over here? All above this dotted line is kind of where things were looking really good on Ethereum. We had all that uptrend here. Look at all this uptrend. All happened above that mark right there. So if we see, the past 2 months, we've been stuck under that. So we finally just re-entered this. So now we need to hold this as support for things to continue to be well. And then open... no, not open, the funding index right here, same thing, has been very, very negative, which is great to see because this was all positive right here. This is kind of when it was flashing warning signs. We had that 60% pullback, and now we've been completely negative. So that is very, very good to see as well. But basically, on the upside, 2300 to 2400, that's really the really important resistance to break. And on the downside, the important support to hold is this right here. I really would not like to see Ethereum break below this. We could even go a little bit lower here to include these wicks. I do not want to see Ethereum break below this, because at that point, then we could say we're considered bearish again. Even though all downtrends have broken, under here was bearish. This was bearish here, bearish here. So if we could stay in between these two zones, and most importantly get above this one, then we're in a very, very safe place. But if we break back below here and we can't hold this red box here, it's about 20, it's about 2,000 to about 2140. Then I could say that Ethereum's back into hot water, because at that point we would basically be re-entering our descending triangle, which, you know, could break to the downside. But I find that to be less likely right now, just because of all the different things I've seen. Then just to look at the week chart real quick, and then I'll wrap it up. If you guys have any questions, this is just very good to see right here. We had all these waves I was showing you guys. First wave, second, third, fourth, fifth. So we've had our 5 waves. So now I'm looking for the ABC. The ABC, I'm hoping, brings us to about right there, maybe retest right here, and then for us to get at least a push to about 3,000. So that kind of is my overview on Ethereum. On the short term, you know, I don't like trading in times like this personally, just because a lot's going on and we just had a huge move. So you kind of want to let the dust settle, but we still are in our uptrend, so that's great to see. But like I said, we just need to hold that about 20,000 to 2,040 to about 2,100, 2040. So I hope all of you guys understood that Ethereum overview there. But if you guys want to look at anything specific, now's the time. But you know, that's kind of my overview on what's happening right now. So let me guys know. We'll stick around here for a bit. Any important coin that you were wondering about or anything, feel free to shoot it right in there, and then we will take a look at it. But I do want to show just something right here. Look at this. This right here is just a great sign to show that, you know, the market has turned to a bullish, some type of bullish trend. We had that downtrend there, fully broken. This thing pumped about 140% off its bottom. This is XVS. That's just another great thing to see. Luna, not the best example here. Rune, that thing just had an attack, so we can't really use that. This is Bitcoin Gold, also not the best example. These aren't the best examples right up here, but here's Link right here. This is a good example. We had this downtrend, fully broke out of the downtrend for the first time in a while. We go on the week chart. As we can see, we are still holding our uptrend right here, so that also is great to see. We had a few wicks below, just like right here, and each time we bounced off of this, we have went to that top trend right here. So, you know, this is something very interesting to look at. Push up, you know, maybe we're getting ready for our next push up. Maybe that could be 70, 80, even $100. So that is something just to keep in mind, is that a lot of these altcoins really do look good. Sand right here, this has been kind of like an AXS. It did just peak out at its all-time high. So, you know, it's kind of interesting, because these really weren't moving with the market the last like week or two, but now over the past week and a half, over the past day and a half, we have started to move with the market. We had a large push like we did last night. We're coming down like the rest of the market as well. So on sand, I'm assuming that there's bearish divergence. Yeah, this is a bearish divergence, as we can see right here. Strength topped out there, so that kind of is why this pullback's happening. If this RSI can stay above the 50 value on the 12-hour, I'd say that sand, you know, still isn't a bullish uptrend, because we still aren't even anywhere close to our uptrend line right there, which I can adjust to about right there. And to get a little sweep back down to that would be no problem. It might be something like this, and then we're gonna retest it. But everything is still bullish on sand. This is on a bigger time frame to show you guys. But you know, a place to find support would be somewhere about right there. As long as we stay above 52 and we stay above 50 on the RSI, and we hold this uptrend, you know, nothing says that sand can't make a new all-time high very, very soon. And on the 1-hour chart, this is looking decent right here. We do have a little uptrend line right here, so you know, maybe we have one more leg down. Maybe that was the leg down, but just keep in mind that this 74 to about 86 really is the most important area. I can even probably adjust this down just a bit. This really is kind of where we need to break and hold for sand to really get moving again. But we did hold all these trend lines, and everything still is in a bullish trend. So that's kind of my overview on sand. If you guys have some more, shoot them in. You know, now's the time to look over them. But basically, you know, the takeaway from this live stream is what we were expecting the last 2 weeks has started to happen, and you know, things are looking good. As long as we don't get a massive rejection the next 2 days, and that brings Bitcoin back down to 32K, 33K, I say everything's looking good. You know, I could continue to go through a lot of these altcoins right here, and I could just scroll through them real quick. As we can see, this is very obvious that, you know, we have finally broken into an uptrend. You know, straight downtrend right here, very, very slow downtrend, kind of a descending channel, fully broken out of that. This is Bitcoin Cash, same concept right here. We have a trend line right here, broken out of that. Sushi, not the best example because that did hold up fairly well. Let's see here. Bitcoin, obviously we went over that. Sia coin did break over its downtrend as well. They had one right there, and we had one right here, and we are still above that, so that is great to see. And Zen, same concept right here, broken over our downtrend. So we are in an uptrend for the first time in 2 months. That's what I want you guys to know. As long as things don't get really bearish over the next 2 days, things are looking good for the next few weeks to the next few months. As we can see, just this beautiful curve right here, another beautiful curve, and we've kind of broken right over that. So that is great to see. I can continue to go through these just to show you guys, you know, there's clear 5 waves, as I told you guys like a week ago. Me and Simon were talking about it in the chat. That's the ABC, but there's clear 5 waves. There's many reasons to say that the bottom is in, at least the local bottom for now. And as we can see, it's basically the same on most of these. So, yeah. Simon, anything to add? If not, you know, like I said, guys, send over your any questions right now, or send over any coins you want me to take a look at. But if not, then we will start to wrap it up. So I think you guys get the overall, you know, memo of kind of what's happening now.
Good stuff, Dom. Good stuff, Tom. As always, guys, any questions, anything to clarify, feel free to shoot it in the chat. We'll address it right now. If you want us to look at any charts, we'll also take a glance right now. We really do appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys took away some key insights from that and have an idea of how to navigate the markets moving henceforth. It is going to get a little turbulent as we see the volatility kick in, but as always, volatility is a trader's best friend. So we are going to try and capitalize on these opportunities by playing it smart, keeping your composure, and taking it easy. Dom, yeah, honestly, so would you buy Ethereum right now? I would not. I wouldn't touch Ethereum until like 1900 minimum. The risk reward on that of it going wrong from here would be very large, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. You know, on a large time frame, you know, it is bullish, but on a short time frame, you know, I can't say we're bullish right now because we just had our first rejection in our oversold or overbought since May. You know, so I don't suspect this to continue, and you never want to buy. The time to buy is down here. You know, obviously maybe right here, as you know, a few of the members did buy over the past few days, but right now I would not say it's a good short-term time to buy, especially if you're a trader. But I do suspect Ethereum over the next few weeks to go higher, but that doesn't mean that you can't get a better entry, because the risk to reward right now just isn't the best. You know, I suspect maybe a little revival, but I do think that we probably will come a little bit lower, if not a lot lower. And Captain Crypto said, you think we'll see 1900? I think it's possible, but what I would like to see is a retest of 2000. You know, if we come back down to 2000, I think that this is a prime buy in this box right here. That's me personally. That's kind of where I would be looking, you know, to open up longs. If we come back down here and things are looking good, I'd be looking for a buy at the retest of 2000. And Dash Preet said, what is a optimal entry for Bitcoin? and I'll show you guys how to find optimal entries after a big move like this. Basically, I go over, I grab a Fibonacci right here. This right here, an optimal entry in my opinion would be about a retest of 35,000. I don't know if we'll go that low, but that would be a very optimal entry. If we retest and we're starting to get a little high bounces, that would be an optimal entry. You know, because if we do start coming down a little bit lower down here, I don't think that would be the best case for Bitcoin, because it would just retrace a lot after it kind of made a big stride. But right now, after buying after such a large move, you know, that's just not how I personally do it. You know, that doesn't mean we're not going to go higher, because I think we will over the next week or two, you know, week or two, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But I do think that we will see lower prices, just because, you know, this right here, like he said, that there was a CME gap here, which I completely agree with. And big moves like this, oftentimes, you know, we had a big move kind of similar right here. Look what happened after. I really don't think that that's going to happen. But if we just get this right here, then we start, okay, there's our optimal entry. You know, it'd be something like that, our retest of this big resistance zone right here, because we never retested that, we just broke out. So this is what I would think would be the most likely scenario. That'd be our buy right there, and then we could retry that $40,000 mark. Sam, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we can definitely retest those levels, as Dom mentioned. So keeping a close eye on that. I threw my Ethereum chart in the chat. If you guys want to take a look at it, there is a downward trend line that I have drawn out, which also kind of broke out. And for it to retest that, we're looking at least the 2130-ish region. So that's where my eyes are right now. And I think that aligns with what Dom has on his charts as well, if I'm not mistaken. Any other question, guys?
Jacob B. I personally think that Stellar, you know, I think it has a good future as well. You know, some like people that hate Ripple, they kind of like Stellar a little bit more, but it is basically the same thing. I don't know if you know, but the person that was involved in the creation of XRP in Ripple back in 2012 is the CEO of Stellar. That is Jed McCaleb, and people don't really understand why he did that. But Stellar definitely has some good strides. They're already being used as, I think, Ukraine CBDC. So, you know, I have no problem with Stellar, and I think it does have a good future. But overall, I think Ripple does have more strides on it, and it just has more progress than Stellar. You know, XRP's been in the top 10 for 8 years. Stellar, I don't think has. I think it was in the top 10 for a little bit, but it can't stay in that top 10. So just that right there shows that, you know, it has a jump start on it, kind of like, you know, Cardano versus you know, maybe Ethereum. That doesn't mean that Cardano won't pass over Ethereum at some point, but right now Ethereum's got way more strides on Cardano. Kind of the same concept right there.
Any other questions, guys? If not, we're gonna start wrapping it up here. We were recording this session, so be sure to, if you've missed it, if you joined in late, you'll be able to catch a copy on a link that I'll post in the chat. Keep in mind from now on, once we do go premium, we won't be uploading the videos to the live YouTube, to the YouTube channel, but you guys will get a personalized link that you will be able to access as members of the chat. So something to keep in mind. All Perfect. I guess if there's no other questions, then we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to join us this evening. We hope you had fun. John, thank you for all the wise insights, and we'll catch you again in next week's session, guys. Have a great evening.
Yeah, guys, thanks for joining. And like he said, we will have the recording, so if you missed some, you could take a look at it. But Simon, thanks for your insights as well. It always comes together nice, and I hope you guys understand kind of what's going on right now. And we're not surprised because this is kind of the way we thought things were going to go. Just remember, SA Capital and all of us, we try to be ahead of the what happens, so we could position ourselves accordingly. So I hope all of you guys have a great night, and thanks for watching.